住，打进之后，这可能扛不住了。下一个大招突出闪现一力挂，恭喜老干爹战队一发大招。
The LPL Spring Split is finally over. Today marks the first day of the LPL playoffs. Before we get into those matches and before we get into the first match of round one, we do have a couple of awards to give out, such as the MVP of the split. Hello and welcome to tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Stewart, your host. Joining me is going to be Raz as well as Rusty. What are you guys' thoughts on the Spring Split before we move finally into playoffs?
Yeah, it was sick. There were so many games. We had a ridiculous amount of games, over 310 games seen, more than NA and EU put together.
Yep.
And now we get to see the culmination of all of that.
Yeah, and honestly, they are prepared for this gauntlet because it felt like the split itself was a gauntlet to go through. So yeah, you know, you're conditioned, you're ready. It's time to perform.
Yeah, and a lot of teams just narrowly made it into playoffs as well. We see Team WE scraping a victory there to get in there. FPX were close behind them. And there were those teams making their late game runs towards playoffs. And teams such as FPX as well as Sinning, unfortunately missing out. And it seemed like this year, this split of the LPL was very close in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, honestly, at the very beginning of the LPL, 9-5 said it best when he was in an interview and just said that it felt like every team just got better. After Worlds, you go back into the LPL, the middle of the pack was not really the middle of the pack just because they got better to the point where fourth place team was just up for grabs. Suning Gaming are the notable team that just are not present, and it felt like they just had stars among the ranks.
And it's all about the top-down performances. You know, if you go to the Worlds and two of our teams went to the semi-finals, where you bring back that skill back to your region, then everyone has to come up to match them.
Well, that was the Spring Split of 2018 of the LPL. Let's get first into a couple of awards, such as the MVP of the split, which we are now going to decide between a few members in the LPL. First up was Amazing Jay. He was the first nominee as the MVP.
Yeah, Amazing Jay, I mean, it came down to flexibility for him just because the beginning of the split started with his massive Camille play. He became the carry player, and they just played towards top lane. But the moment they started to bring in the new players in the mid lane and jungle, Chieftain and Mole, they suddenly just became a bottom lane team, and he adapted quickly.
And it lets Amazing Jay do his thing. And it doesn't have to be that he has to carry anymore. He can play Ornn and he can do well in team fights. He can play the Camille and he can carry. You saw some gangplank coming from him as well. But he's also a shot caller and a communicator for the team. He always has been. And now having two big carries in the mid lane and jungle helps him a lot.
And with Ning from Invictus Gaming being the second nominee for MVP of Spring Split.
Yeah, Ning was a big one because when I had my jungle tier list, he came at second place at the 7th week just because I felt like Flawless was the jungler to beat. But then he beat Flawless when they had their set. He was in his jungle, demolishing, as you can see him right there. So Ning really showcased consistency and that he can carry his team.
Yeah, actually grew a lot more as a jungler, specifically with the fact that he's more confident going into the enemy jungle, relying on his lanes to win, instead of just ganking for Rookie, you know, going the top lane and helping the Shy. They all come to him now, and he shows that in the jungle role, he really is a powerhouse to be feared.
Yeah, and I mean, he just fit into the meta every single time it shifted. So the moment Olaf became a thing, teams just didn't ban Olaf, and he played it time and time again.
He was very crucial for Invictus Gaming's dominant split during Spring Split 2018, but Rookie was also a crucial factor. He's the third nominee for MVP.
He's the experienced member in a team of Rookie, but he also is having a fantastic split himself. Mechanically, still been exceptional. Decision-making, working with his new players. You can really see them coming together as a team, but a lot of this, whilst his lanes are good, does still come back to his experience and prowess in his role.
Yeah, and it just showcases, of course, you already mentioned the experience, but recognizing that he doesn't have to be the major carry anymore.
Exactly.
He has Jackie Love in the bottom lane, the Shy having the split of the year, and so he can just go towards the mid lane and play those supportive picks.
It's almost as if Rookie has not had to work overtime. That he's on a roster that has so much talent. With the likes of Jackie Love, with the likes of Nick, he picked up 11 MVP performances this split. Scout also the number 4 nominee for MVP.
And he is one of the biggest hit or miss champ players that you will see on Summoner's Rift. His Talia is the best in the league potentially, but there's some other times, Lucian, where he may not be the best player, but for what it's worth, he is deserving of all of the MVPs he received because he carried in those games.
Yeah, he picked up 13 MVP performances for EDG this split.
Yeah, first place, and that's what's big about him is just that in a team, EDG, first place team that just didn't retain a lot of their consistent talent. Of course, iBoy is returning, but not having Clear Love, having, of course, the jungler of Haro, having a lot of holes in his play, of course, top lane Ray, holes in his play, he became that mid laner that you could rely on.
And the final nominee for MVP of this split is going to be Snake's jungler, SOFM.
SOFM, I mean, amazing jungler for himself. In a surprising split for Snake to be able to contest for first place, it showcases his play time and time again.
Where was he in your list?
Oh, I mean, it was third place.
Okay, so he's still the top 3. Just checking.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely still a good jungler. To be feared, especially in the last week of play, Snake kind of dropped off a cliff for a second there, and you were getting a little bit worried for them. Usually Snake are renowned for falling off as the playoffs roll around, but he showed up massive. He showed that he can carry and they can play around him.
And Snake are one of the few teams that actually play around their jungler in the same style that Koreans play around their junglers in the LCK. So now we have Candice on stage waiting to announce who the winner of the MVP is going to be for this split. Gentlemen, do you have any final thoughts before they announce the winner?
Oh, I mean, it better be good. To me, there are two players that come to mind. It's either Rookie or Xie, both mid laners, of course, so there's bias in that regard.
Only one of them's on the list.
Ah, that's true. That's true. Oh, no.
Well, we're going to find out now who the MVP for Spring Split 2018 at the LPL is going to be.
兄联盟职业联赛春季常规赛 MVP 的是 IG Rookie。
There you go.
Rookie.
Rookie, MVP of 2018 Spring Split of the LPL.
And it's been eluding him for some time. Last year, it just felt like because the team wasn't there, Invictus Gaming wasn't performing too well, it felt like he was missing the MVP performances of finals because he wasn't showcasing, missing the MVP of the split because it was Doinby, he was able to get it for himself. So this time, finally, Invictus Gaming is performing, and it's Rookie that picks it up.
Yeah, Rookie is a very deserving MVP, and we mentioned this time and again, his team performing well around him, but it doesn't matter if he can still play as well as he has to. You know, be yourself. Now Rookie can actually do that and rely on his team. Well, that means he's going to win lane. That means he's going to team fight like a god, and the plays that he can make, specifically even on Orianna, are incredible.
Exactly that. He no longer has to be that playmaker that has to step forward and always come to the play when he's needed to. He can now facilitate players like Ning, facilitate players like Jacula, and it's allowed Invictus Gaming to be the most dominant team in the LPL so far.
And while we're going down memory road of all the picks that he's gone towards, it just showcases, specifically when he was going up against Knight, he can just go back to the Rookie of last year, when he can just flex on you within the laning phase and go towards the Lucian pick. So it's not that he's just going to be like, I'm going to support my team, I'm going to play the Karmas and Oriannas. No, he's willing to be able to carry straight from the lane itself.
Yeah, definitely an impressive player with a plethora of champions for what it's worth as well. You mentioned the aggression in lane if he chooses to do so. He can play the control mages if need be, but not just your traditional control mages. He's actually one of the few Orianna players that the world currently has as well. So he's got his pocket picks above all else, and I think that's what makes him so scary and allows IG to do so much with target bans against him.
It's a pocket pick and a signature pick for Rookie in the mid lane. He's played it so many times, not just this split, but splits before, and still shows that he's dominant on the champion.
And it's just, if you look towards the MVP list, if you just look towards what we've even put on our own social media about who are the players of the split, Rookie is, of course, the mid laner. But Invictus Gaming is going to be rounding out a lot of it, and it just showcases Invictus Gaming's strength as strong solo laners, and I don't know who's going to be able to beat them just in the laning phase alone, just because, of course, Rookie in the mid lane, the Shy in the top lane. We're going to be having a discussion about that. But scary team, scary team.
They've been the most dominant team in Spring Split, only dropping one game to RNG in the opening match of the LPL. So rightfully so, deserving his MVP status in the mid lane for Invictus Gaming. We know that Ning also got a nominee for his team. The entirety of IG have looked so strong. And this has been Rookie's split, and he is looking towards heading to MSI if they can run the gauntlet and take down whichever team they meet in the finals.
I just don't feel like pressure really impacts him. Just a moment ago, before he was even about to get on stage, just eating a bucket of ice cream really in the makeup room.
Yes, he was.
That's the demeanor of Rookie. I mean, every single time you have interviews with him, questions with him, he's a very happy-go-lucky guy. He works hard, but he, you know, still has some fun while doing so.
There's a very important thing about that aura you have as the experienced member of a team. You know, the fact that you can be a happy-go-lucky guy, all smiles, all happiness, it does do wonders for you. When your rookies come in and they see you being so calm and so enthusiastic and just so happy to be there.
He's saying that today is special because he's been in the LPL for 3 years, and it's the first time that he's been able to pick up an MVP. And rightfully so. We talked about it. He's had so many great splits, but this split he's just been the best.
It's hilarious. I mean, I already mentioned it earlier, and the fact that the trophies have just eluded him, even though he has been the best performing mid laner. If he's not in a best performing team, oftentimes you don't get that recognition, and so the recognition is important, and at least that trophy case now has this award present for him.
It's a case of what could have been, of course, for Rookie, right? Think about the 2015 Rookie. What if he was in EDG or something like that, you know? Amazing how they could have been, but he's done it with IG.
Candace asking Rookie at the end there, what does this mean to you? And, you know, what do you want to say to your teammates? And Rookie said, if this could be a team award, I would make it one, because this was a team effort, and he just looks good off the back of his team's entire performance, which, as much as we can say, Invictus Gaming been looking really good. Yes, he rightfully deserves his MVP award. For now, though, let's get straight into the first playoff match of the day. It's going to be W taking on RNG.
There we go. I mean, that's the funny thing about this, because W and RNG.
打进了季后赛，我知道我们所处的位置很艰难，但是我们会全力去拼，让看清我们的对手后悔。
去年的春天，W拿到了第1个冠军，我很怀念当时夺冠的情景，我很想再重温一次。
我们已经连续4次杀进总决赛了，如果这一次春决没有 RNG 的话，那这个赛季對我們而言，肯定是不夠滿意的答卷吧。
經過上1年嘅低谷，我哋重新進入咗季後賽，對我哋嚟講係一個好好嘅開始。我相信我哋呢個隊伍能夠再次創造奇蹟。
很多人說我們是高開低走，但是我相信自己，更相信隊友。季後賽的小道勇士不會讓支持我們的人失望。
Snake 已經不再是一支新隊了。但是这个赛季，我们又找回了最开始的那股冲劲。我们想代表重庆走得更远一些。
我知道有很多人在等着我回 EDG， 既然现在我回来了，就把你们安排得明明白白的。
我来到 LPL 已经有3年的时间，没有比现在更好的机会了。努力了这么久，也该轮到 IG 了。
6 paths, they're calling me Madara. Your guys will hide in the mist if my brothers put iron in fists like Kazuya. Man call me an amateur, I put numbers and squares like dates on a calendar. Had everyone dressed in black like I came here trying to unlock a new character. Had everyone dressed in black with a bottle in hand like Lei Wulong. Walk in a party, see a Barbie looking nice, I just give her a smile and a wink. Could have been dead, I could have been rich, I could have been locked in a cage.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the English broadcast of the Chinese LPL. Before we jump to that quick video piece, Raz was so excited, and rightfully so, because this is finally playoffs. The Spring Split group stages are officially over. We're getting into the first round 1 match, which is going to be today. Team WE taking on RNG, both teams semi-finalists from Worlds last year. They just walked on stage. The crowd is absolutely packed here. Everyone has gathered to watch these two titans go up against each other, and it just seems fated that they're always going to play against each other during playoffs.
Hell yeah, I just want to talk about it, man. Let's talk about the matchup, all right? RNG, WE, and we get the treat early. I was just talking about, you know, Rookie eating some ice cream before. This is that ice cream for us. And it's a little bit, it's like before we go to bed, ruin our dinner, ruin the finals just because it feels like a finals here today.
No, he's right. I mean, it's exciting. I always have dessert before bed as well, personally. But hey, it's still good to have it.
Let's go through the entrees first, because this is the first day that we have in playoffs. So let's take a look at the standings from the group stages of the Spring Split, the 2018 LPL. This is how everything shaped up, and these are the 8 teams that we're playing during playoffs.
And it is important to note that, yes, 4th is playing 3rd today, but the standings, everyone is fighting against the first place teams eventually. IG managed to finish the split 18-1, winning 18 sets in a row after they lost their first set of the split. They are the true gods of the league right now. They are the team to beat.
And hilariously enough, if you talk about week 1, it was RNG that took the set versus Invictus Gaming, looking strong, of course, at the very end of the split. And if you were able to catch a glance onto WE, tied in series versus Fun Plus Phoenix, so it was a really close finish for them to finally get into the playoffs, and they both face off tonight.
Well, we just saw the MVP award being given out for the split, which went over to Rookie. We had 5 nominees for that award as well, but we also have our all LPL teams, so to speak. We have 3 of them. And first up, we're going to take that look at the first team. These are who we think are the best 5 in their positions in the LPL.
And you know who got robbed when it came to MVP nominations? The Shy immediately, because it was his split. I mean, Rookie talking about the fact that it was a team award when he received it because his team just got an award in terms of all LPL first team.
Yeah, I mean, you can take one step further and even consider Flandre, and he's definitely worthy of the top 3 spots. But as you go through the first team list, I cannot think of a stronger 5-man roster to send to a tournament. And this is very close to what we could even send to the All-Star tournament at the end of this year if form continues.
Only 2 members that are not from Invictus Gaming in the first team as well. Uzi as well as Maker, they've been standouts in their position. Uzi showing that he's still one of the most dominant AD carries that League of Legends has ever seen. And we started this split saying that the Youngblood could try and overthrow him. They have not been able to do
they
so.
They said, come and get me, right? And they still haven't been able to catch up to Uzi yet when he came in partway through.
But we do have a couple of Youngbloods in the second All-LPL team, especially in that bottom lane matchup. Surprise, surprise, there are still a couple of Invictus Gaming members there who missed out getting into the first team.
Round them out at the end. I mean, sure, this kind of feels bad when you're looking towards the list and you're like, wait a minute, everyone on IG? But that's because they all performed incredibly well individually. It felt like teams that went up against them couldn't even get past them in terms of the early laning phase. You already mentioned the Snake players as well, Flounder and SOFM rounding out the top side of the map. And of course, GA, an MVP performance in the split. It just felt unfair that he wasn't able to receive the MVP because he's in the same league as Rookie.
Well, let's dive straight into the third team that we have, because we're going to get quickly into this first round match. The third team is basically the final 5, the ones who just quite couldn't make it onto the first 2. And again, a lot of familiar players as we got newcomers into the LPL, such as Jungler for RNG Casa.
And this is where we have to hit the BLG members as well. Road being able to scrape in the 3rd place position for supports. It was a hotly contested role. That was probably the role with the most votes between everybody looking towards it, and he gets to work with SMLZ, someone who was very close to getting into that top 2 as well. All of these players, very strong individuals that just didn't do as much as the players above them, but they still did so much.
That's why you just gotta have to keep your eyes on specifically Scout and SMLZ, because although near the end of the split, there were a lot of, I would say, evidence that they're not performing well consistently. When you come in playoff time, you expect to find that performance. SMLZ will have that performance, and Scout, you always have to be ready for it.
Well, it is playoff time, so let's actually take a look at the schedule for playoffs for Spring Split 2018. It's going to start with today's matches. Team WE taking on RNG. We have another round 1 match coming up tomorrow, which is going to be BLG taking on Jindong Gaming.
And it's important to note, of course, as you're looking at round 1, that it is 1-0. Now, that is because of their placements in the standings. RNG and BLG both finished 3rd, respectively, so they do get a 1-map advantage. They played 19 best-of-3s this split, so they get rewarded for finishing.
Whereas the advantage that Rogue Warriors and Snake get is an extra round bye. Invictus Gaming and EDG for finishing 1st in their conferences will get a full 2 rounds bye. Straight into the semi-finals. They are already guaranteed a Rift Rivals spot, and they're 1 game away from making it to the finals.
Yep, and if you have a regular season where you're playing about 310 games plus, then you better be rewarded for it, and they did. It took a long time to get it, and it came down to the final week, but we finally got those teams already in place now.
Well, let's dive straight into the first match that we have. Team WE taking on RNG in today's game. These are the 2 semi-finalists from World Championships last year, and they're going to go up against each other in the first round of playoffs. And just a reminder, as Rusty was saying early on, RNG do have a game advantage. It will be a weighted best-of-5 in their favor.
And you know what the best thing is about this set? It's the fact that if you win this, you have to play against Snake. And if you win that, you have to play against IG. This is the hardest side of the bracket. I could not imagine being one of these 2 teams right now, let alone WE, who have to start this set 0-1 down.
It's going to be like some golden ticket. I don't even know what it is. If you can take the victory versus, at the very least, if you get far enough to go up against Invictus Gaming and take it, then of course it seems like you're destined for the finals, destined for that victory.
Well, the first thing that we really have to touch on moving into this game is that we are playing on 8.6 for the rest of playoffs. These are the changes that the LPL team think that are most important for 8.6. So clip it, take a look, take a snapshot, now get it out of here, because we're going to dive straight into the team strengths for these 2 teams. WE taking on RNG. Gentlemen, what do you 2 want to talk about?
Where do you want to start, Raz? Pick a team.
All right, you know what? Let's go with RNG. I'll go with RNG just because I felt like they were the team at the very beginning. Off-season went through, and we saw them on paper, and we're like, oh, this is a finalist team. This is a team, you bring in Karsa, and immediately that's an upgrade in terms of consistency. We wanted consistency out of the jungle. You had Karsa versus MLXG. MLXG had a high that he could go hard and be able to take a victory from you in the 10-minute mark if he gets that kill. But there would be moments in high-pressure situations where it wouldn't work out for him, and so bringing in Karsa felt like they can start to challenge that role and find themselves later down the line with that victory.
And again, we have to look towards the Crownless King for RNG as well. Yes, Cast has been brought in as a new jungler for the squad. They've been swapping around their top laners as well. But Uzi has been having the best domestic split of his life so far. He normally performs incredibly well internationally, but it's rare to see him have such a dominant domestic split.
Yeah, and I think the dominance is, he's always had a lane dominance. He's always performed well during his laning phases, but this has been extreme. He has taken all of that victories to the next level. He's not just been great, but he has been exceptional and exquisite, honestly, through his laning pressure. pressure. You can see a lot of the stats now on your screen, specifically for Uzi as well. He is a major part of their CSD and their CS per minute leads that the whole team has. He actually inflates those stats to make RNG look good. That's how good Uzi is.
Yeah, and when you look at second place, which is iBoy, it's still a stark difference, a 5 CS difference within the laning phase. So once he joined the team, Invictus Gaming had a raw advantage, or at least an identity around that bottom lane, so they can work around that, and then once they get into the mid portions of the game, they can start going for the 1-3-1s for themselves.
They're a very similar team that in terms of playstyle to Invictus game, where they like to go to those 1-3-1s. We saw the stats earlier. Very low team fights in terms of the amount of games that they play about. They average 2 team fights throughout an entire match, which is the second lowest in the LPL.
Yeah, definitely not the biggest team fighting teams, but if it comes to it, you know, if it comes to that team fighting stage in the later game, and some teams such as WE may try and take that to them, I don't think that RNG won't be able to keep up with them by any means. It's just that they have this better style they choose to take.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm going to immediately just hit the point of, if it's Karsa, then I expect cleaner 1-3-1s. If it's going to be MLXG, then I should see more team fights, just in the sense that they need to back them up in their invades.
But this is what Team WE excel at. They excel at going for those 5-on-5 team fights. This is a team that has been branded around going to late game and fighting you 5-on-5.
Yeah, they statistically have the most team fight victories, which is a very weird thing to say because they do team fight a lot. So the fact that they win those team fights a lot shows where their strengths genuinely are. And the hard part for Team WE has always been getting there. But if they do, you cannot stop them.
Which is surprising because we talked about how Xie was the one MVP coming forward, stepping up individually. So I would have expected them to be an individual-based team, win through mid lane and see if they can go for 1-3-1s as well. But it seems like the main shot caller from 2017 to the shot caller of 2018, Xie, has decided that team fights is the release the WE style.
And Xie started the split incredibly strong. He was in contention for our MVP of the entire split as well, just through his week's 1-5 performance. And from the point we get to see these miracle moments coming out of the mid laner of WE, he starts to develop more team play. He doesn't just commit to constant assassins like he was doing here. He actually brings about the Galio. So when you talk about team fight victories and the fact that individuals may not always be there for WE, they pick the compositions that give them the same strengths they've always had, and they do win through it.
And that's why RNG tonight have to be aware of the compositions that make WE successful. We remember in previous internationals that it was just about the Galio Jarvan. It seems like they're going right back to that again. It's simple enough, and a lot of the questions that we've had towards Magic is resolved when he's on the Jarvan, so he has to be denied that.
Because it allows WE to make their magic happen. But excuse that, please. I'm never going to say that again. That was... Oops. No, WE getting to those team fights, having the composition that makes it easier. For the new members of the side, like Celestial and Magic, Jarvan makes a lot of sense. MLXG plays Jarvan for a very obvious reason, because even if he's caught out of position, he can get away. If he's out of position, he can actually go in. So it helps a lot for those players.
And it also allows Mystic to perform, have the space to walk forward, so it empowers the two members that we've been talking about, the simplicity, of course, of the composition, but obviously the members of Mystic and Magic, so they can work their magic.
And speaking of Mystic, he's going to be up against Uzi today in the bottom lane. The two 80 carries. This is a rivalry that has spread across multiple splits between these two players.
Yeah, definitely a big rivalry starting to crop up perhaps between these two respective 80 carries. Uzi's always been the top dog that you want to take down, but domestically we've seen Mystic actually take him down, especially in the 2017 Spring Split, and for most of 2017 when WE did look like the superior team overall, but he was always the one challenging them for the throne. Uzi was always just nipping at the heels of Mystic as he was trying to break away.
Yeah, and this time around, it's just Mystic being the challenger this time around. I think that Mystic had a pretty poor split as a whole. There have been mispositioning errors from him from time to time, but he's had shown up. And so the stats that you do see here, the CS differences, the deaths per game, kills and deaths and assists, just showcases that he's at the very least consistent throughout the wide margin. It's just about when the team fights start, he needs to be behind his tanks.
And to give some context here as well, the difference in Mystic's stats is from the whole split compared to the past 2 weeks, and where a lot of the stats looked better, that was actually Mystic in the past 2 weeks performing better than he has been all split long. He's starting to ramp up. He's actually starting to hit the finals in closer to a sprint. It may not be his absolute all-time best, but he's getting very close to it once again.
And we're getting very close to getting into game number 1 between RNG and Team WE. Reminder to everyone back at home, yes, this is game 1, but RNG do have a single game advantage moving into this best of 5 series. They are the team that we think is weighted in their favor to pick up the match here.
And it's simple enough, best of 3 versus best of 5. RNG just has to win 2 games in this series, strategically makes a lot more sense to just kind of take a few more chances, which is why when you see the lineup, you're like, okay, I'm just going to spoil it for you, by the way. MLXG is starting, so I want to see how that goes to show if they have the faith in him to start out strong.
The cool thing about a weighted gauntlet like this, a weighted best of 5, is that if you do win that first game with something innovative or different, it's actually a 2-0 lead. And so the pressure mounts more so for your opponent that has lost that game. For WE, in this case, if you win game number 1, congratulations, the set is even, and then you've just revealed a strategy perhaps to even get that win in the first place.
Well, let's take a look at the two teams' lineups. For Team WE, 957, Magic, Sia, Mystic, as well as Celestial.
They've kept it standard, they kept it close. Magic has been performing near the end of the split. The same is true for Mystic, so I want to see if they can perform here tonight.
Whereas for RNG, it's Satai in the top lane. They're going to be starting with MLXG, Xiaohu in the mid lane, the Mad Dog Uzi in the bottom lane with his partner in crime, Me.
So the first things first, Zatai is in instead of Let Me. And then the second thing is the man, the myth, the MLX Jesus is in the first game here as well for RNG. I am excited to see how he goes.
I'm excited too. I think top lane is going to be a major point of focus just because MLXG, when he senses any point of weakness, he just goes. He's a skirmish jungler a lot of the times. In the beginning of the split, it's the Camille's, it's the Jax. Not relevant now. I think the Trundle is going to be something he looks towards just so he can evade a little bit harder.
Perhaps, yeah.
I just want to see what he can do early because he wants to go top side and enables a tie.
You know, I have a feeling that he's just going to try and commit to the Jarvan anyway, just because, again, he is the Jarvan player and he's against Magic on the side of WE, so that's probably like the #1 jungler as a denial tool and as a pick for him as a style.
Well, we're about to get into that first match quickly, so gentlemen, I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, are we going to see Kai'Sa played here today?
Hell yeah. Well, unless if it's banned, so I think that's the real trick to the question. If it's banned, I'll say yes. Someone will allow it to go. I think Uzi won't play it. Mystic has been trying his hardest, so he's going to try his hand at it until maybe he succeeds a little bit too hard, then RNG is going to try and ban it in the second.
Yeah, I have no expectations of RNG playing it. I think that if anyone does, it will be Team WE, and I think that RNG are just going to ban it instead. So we may not see it. I'm going to say yes, though, just hoping that RNG don't ban it.
2 yeses.
Well, next question I have for you two then, since we can probably see Kai'Sa play, we know that Mystic's played it before. Can Team WE get that miracle team fight? Because we know if it goes to beyond 40 minutes, they have a 72% win rate.
I've decided, and this is going to be a spoiler for my later on thing, miracle teamfights usually mean that they win a game. So I'm just going to come out and say that they will win a game, that one teamfight will come through. And it's hard to expect it. If they get the composition we've been talking about, then that's what matters for me.
I'm just going to say no.
Oh,
They're not going to get a miracle team fight. They're statistically very bad at 20 minutes in the game. RNG will be able to excel and get ahead in lanes. Then they'll just 1-3-1. You don't get a team fight in a 1-3-1.
Well, there you go. So quickly, we're about to get into that first match. Raz, you said they can win a game. What's your predictions for this series?
It's RNG's. They're going to take it. If it's about the series, RNG is going to win. But WE is going to make it competitive for at least one game.
And Rusty, you said they're not going to win a single match. So what's the score here if RNG win?
2-0 to RNG. They already start with 1, to be fair. So 3-0 to RNG.
Well, there you go. Both our analysts here think that RNG are going to be the ones to pick up this series. Let's send it over to our casters, getting straight into Champion Select.
That we are. You can see it in the background. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for your excellent predictions. But hurry up next time. We have got RNG versus WE, and we are in picks and bans, and we are so excited. And because this is a huge matchup. This is the 4th time these teams have clashed into playoffs. And currently, RNG have the match win at 2-1 over WE. But WE have actually got more game wins over RNG. And I know you don't count it like that, Frost, but we got to take stock because we are already into pick and ban. And there's the Kai'Sa.
And there's the answer to the first question. Was Kai'Sa going to be a priority ban from red side? Again, yes. We are technically in game 1. RNG have a point advantage due to the higher seed. So that's why it says 0-1 at the top of your screen. And I have a feeling that we're never going to see Kai'Sa this entire split.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy on the 8.6, but hey, we'll see how these teams change it up. Zatai in for Let Me in the top lane. His most played champion is Swain, and his first pick champion for RNG is Swain. Uzi taking his 3rd Xayah game of all time.
So what's interesting here is that this is Team WE throwing the gauntlet. Uzi was heavily criticized by the community for not playing Xayah come 2017 Worlds. He recently dispelled that, brought out the Xayah against LGD, and absolutely smashed that team, showcasing, yes, I can play the champion. It is Mystic's #1 pick, his signature champion. They grab a first priority Rakan, and they force Uzi onto a pick that I don't think that they believe he's comfortable on. I think this is Mystic saying, can you actually play this against the best Xayah in the world? Because we're about to find out.
Yeah, we certainly are. Varus is the answer from Mystic. He's playing against the best AD carry in the world. And if at one point he might have been the best Xayah, he's facing off against Uzi in some of the best form we've ever seen from him. He will have Celestial to back him up on that Rakan, but Ming now picks up his Alistar, and this bottom lane is looking spicy.
Calm down a little bit. He hasn't gotten to go to MSI yet and prove that he's the best AD carry in the world, but he is definitely one of the best in the world. No one is going to dispute that. And just to echo you, Dom, I have been such a huge critic of Uzi over the course of his career. I've never thought that at any point in time that he was definitively the best ADC in the LPL. 2018 spring, Uzi is the best. Head and shoulders way above anyone else.
Absolutely. Hands down, a spectacular performance from him. Question is, will RNG play around that style here today? Because we do have MLXG and Zatai in for today. Zatai taking that Swain likely in the top lane, though we know it could be flexed. And 957, who's been having a stellar performance, is taking the Gnar to answer.
Yeah, interesting. So the thing is that Swain has a really good, Camille has a decent matchup into Swain, and so it's very surprising to me that 957 would grab hold of the Gnar when he had options to go for the Camille. We now see that it's been banned out in secondary phase. I believe that's actually a jungle ban against MLXG.
Yes.
Because when you actually look at the difference between MLXG and Karsa, there are some champion pool differences outside of the obvious playstyle differences, and Jax and Camille are kind of the two that really stick out that also did get kind of some tweaks on this most recent patch, specifically the Jax.
Yes, well, we'll see if MLXG takes that or if he looks for something a bit more standard instead, because we are now looking at mid lane and jungle picks for these two teams, unless that Swain ends up getting flexed towards Xiaohu. Because now, with counter picks still available for RNG, you've got to wonder, what do they try to prioritize? It's Gragas for MLXG.
Interesting. So this isn't the first Gragas of the LPL, and we'll see how this series goes to see if it's going to be the last, but Gragas has been very hit and miss for me. You know, he's kind of middle in the road in terms of his jungle clear. He doesn't really fit as too much of like a skirmish or a tempo-oriented jungler. He's just kind of right in the pocket, and a lot of the teams are grabbing him more so to disrupt compositions or to have some sort of interesting pairing or matchup.
We'll see how that works out for MLXG, of course, playing his first game for RNG in 3 weeks, and Xie blind picks Cassiopeia in the mid lane. He has been on fire for Team WE throughout the entire split, the only one with a consistently spectacular performance. He knows he might be up against this Swain, but this is a statement from Xie in the mid lane.
This is also Xie being robbed of any mention of MVP. Yes, I think that Rookie deserves it, but I cannot believe that Xie didn't even make the shortlist there. MVP in my heart.
And of course, to follow him out, the helicopter parent, as we so like to call him, Magic, the new jungler for Team WE in his first ever LPL playoff game, taking Sejuani for some pretty safe engage and something I could possibly also follow up on that Cassiopeia, but that means Xiaohu in the mid lane sees that, gets to pick himself some counter pick, takes some long-range safety on Orianna.
So this is a very different look from RNG. We talked about on the desk how they're a 1-3-1 team. They have the lowest team fight or number of team fights per victory or per game. They also have the lowest kills plus assists. So when they do kill people, they're never doing it together. It's about playing those side lanes, it's about making those rotations or finding those assassins. This is a straight 5v5 composition. You've got so much zone control between the Orianna and the Swain. You have the Xayah, the Alistar, the Gragas to reset a team fight when Team WE try to roll over. This is RNG meeting Team WE on their own terms.
Which is a bit concerning considering how RNG's form has been so spectacular over the past weeks, and WE has been the team that has been looking a little bit falsy. And certainly, though we do have some slight patch changes going into 8.6, it's only been a week turnaround since we saw WE's loss to OMG in their arena in Chengdu. So to see RNG sort of give these concessions over in game one of this series could just be RNG saying, hey, we'll play you at your own style and we'll be better than you.
It's also the fact that we don't have tape of RNG doing this, especially with MLXG. The last time we saw MLX Jesus, as Rusty likes to call him, was 3 weeks ago against JD Gaming, in which RNG lost.
Definitely a statement for RNG to try to match it, because this is the new age rivalry. As I said, this is the 4th time in 5 playoffs that these two teams have met. It was semifinals, finals, then another semis, and now round 1 that these teams are meeting again. And while RNG currently holds the match wins, WE hold the game wins.
They also hold the championship win.
Yes, that too, which RNG still have yet to claim with Uzi. The Mad Dog, one of the best AD carries in the world. He's made it into playoffs once again, but if he wants that title, if he wants to go to MSI, it starts here.
RNG have never missed an LPL final since 2015. That is 4 back-to-back consecutive splits. Their playoff run starts now.
As we load onto the Rift, the arena is packed. The playoffs have officially begun.
.500 strong, standing in the Shanghai Battle Arena at the top of the Super Brand Mall. We are one of the largest live venues in all of the LCS, League of Legends. Just LCS, all of it.
Yes, all of it. Definitely superior. Meanwhile, Uzi and Ming, you can see right now, they are now playing their 100th duo game. Compare that with Mystic and Celestial. They've played a grand total of 30 games together. Uzi and Ming have 3 times as much on-stage experience.
All I'm going to say is iBoy only played 22 games and he was able to take down Uzi, so who's to say that Celestial can't bring some magic?
Yes. Well, no, magic's in the jungle.
You're just supposed to roll over that joke.
We're supposed to see how this game works out. Regardless, both junglers starting off with that red buff. Zatai giving a leash up top. Magic on the Sejuani, happily starting off with his own red. That does mean Uzi and Ming will get that early bottom lane priority. And we know Uzi is one of the best lane. Sorry, I'm trying to be general here.
No,
the best laner
he is the best
in
laner.
the league.
We can't say he's the best ADC in the world yet, but we can say that he is the best laning ADC in the world. He's proven that.
Yes.
And it is, reminder, 8.6, so Xayah has seen a couple of her changes here. Again, this was a priority pick of Rakan, not Xayah for Mystic. And normally you would see it the other way around. So again, I feel this is Mystic looking at Uzi and testing him. Can you actually play this champion as well as I understand her?
And this always is the question between these two. Does Uzi actually see Mystic as a rival, considering the number of times that they meet and clash, because they both have that propensity to single-handedly carry games? We haven't seen a lot from it Mystic lately this split, but hey, it's playoffs time. 957 has got the playoffs buff. Maybe it's a proximity thing.
Unfortunately, in 2017, I actually thought that Mystic was the better ADC than Uzi. He did get to prove that as they did meet multiple times in Best of Series, and he did get the cutting edge over him, but Mystic has been fairly inconsistent over the course of 2018 so far. If you haven't been keeping up to the LPL, he tends to die a lot.
He does. And as a result of that, WE are taking the lower seed. Now, on the bottom of your screen, you can actually see that lower seeds have a pretty even chance to overcome the 0-1 deficit and advance in 3 out of the 8 last stacked series. We saw the lower seed advance.
Historically, normally these matches are pretty one-sided, heavily weighted, but that's because the LPL has had such a drastic drop-off between the top 4 teams and the middle of the pack. This split, however, the middle of the pack teams are so strong, and that's why we actually see RNG and WE sitting all the way down in round 1 as opposed to semis or quarters.
Magic now invading onto MLXG, who's able to secure his own camp, running Predator Gragas as he clears that out.
My issue here is that you had the opportunity to pick Sejuani, and you went for the Gragas. Now, the other Gragas player that we've seen crop up in the LPL is Invictus Gaming's Ming, but it still felt like a very bizarre or out-of-place pick. And when Sejuani gets tempo on you to not only dominate the Scuttle Crab River, but also invade you, place vision, and shove you off of your objectives, I feel like you're going to have a bad time. Normally, you kind of pick one or the other. You want like a heavy dueling jungle so you can at least get tempo advantage over Sejuani, because otherwise, she's just going to bully you around, take everything that you want, and track you better.
It could perhaps be the litmus test for RNG, playing the MLXG Zatai style of playing as compared to the Karsa Let Me. Because again, they have a game advantage. They have a game to lose. That said, if they do lose the game, that becomes a momentum challenge. As MLXG with the big smite.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you want to do to Sejuani.
So often we talk about statements in the LPL, but MLXG, he just puts a period at the end of that. You invade me, I invade you. The big question is, though,
he failed.
Oh, yeah, he actually bumped into the Raptor there. How do the mid laners enable or disable this? Xie, in the last 2 sets that we saw, has taken a step to support Magic's invade on the other side. He was the one who set up the ward that allowed Magic to look for those Raptors. Now, it's Xiao who's setting up MLXG to push.
Exactly. You're getting your answer right now, Dom. It's the fact that Xie was low on mana, didn't get to see some of the early trades in the mid lane that could have indicated that, but Xiao, who had the mana, had the health advantage, and allowed MLXG to contest forward this Raptor camp. And I think he's going to make it out. Needs to be careful, though.
Yeah, we're actually seeing...
Here comes Cass. He overstayed.
Wow, what looks a little bit close to an all-in. That's the slow. Can't proc a stun quite yet as MLXG holds on to his flash and just walks it out. That means MLXG will happily take control of Scuttle, though.
And it's fine. He's going to lose the Scuttle Crab, and you can say that, yes, MLXG is just going to either recoup his health or make a back. He's actually forced to take his Wolf Camp because he doesn't want to make the back right now and then lose that entire side of the jungle to Sejuani. But that's kind of classic MLXG, you know, just stayed a little bit too long, wasn't quite punished for it, but could have been.
And the big scare with this sort of style from MLXG, that he was going to skirmish and invade on the opposing jungler, was that Magic wouldn't be able to compete. He is, after all, only 30 games into the LPL, but he meets MLXG head-to-head, doesn't turn around and run away as he might have just a few weeks ago. So already we're starting to see some growth in this statement game for WE.
It is fairly easy to tell where Magic is going to be, however. Yes, they have a Cassiopeia. Cass really thrives when she does, or when she is forward in that lane, aggressively using her spells, but then that exposes her to the ganks, which is why it's so important that they team up like this to lay down the safety vision.
And that is already working out for WE's favor. You can see Xie's stats in the mid lane. We lauded him earlier as the second best mid laner in the league. Well, there you go. His damage percent, damage taken, that's the famous Galio stat, and kill participation is incredibly high. Well, we don't have that first blood yet. We'll see if he bumps her up from third to second.
And it's not just in his individual mechanics that Xie is stepping up. He is becoming a primary shot caller for the team. We had an interview with Celestial a few weeks ago where they made this crazy play, and Clement got to ask him, you know, who made the call for that type of pick? Immediately, Xie made the call.
Yeah.
You can see him when he picks up heavy roam champions like the Galio, like the Ryze, like his Talia. You'll start seeing him cheating and trying to puppet master the rest of the map. So if Xie is there first, things tend to go well for Team WE. If you lock him down, if you keep him in this lane, I think you can exploit them because they don't have direction without Condi or Xie.
And that's where we see the veteran of Xie stepping up for his team, taking that captain role, as he and Mystic are the most played, or sorry, are the duo that have the most games in LPL history, overtaking Mako. That's a flash away from Ming as level 6 is picked up by Mystic. Already showing some aggression against Uzi and Ming.
Yeah, trying to abuse the mismatch level between 6 and 5. Unfortunately, Ali and Xayah don't have access to their ultimates to disengage from a type of CC lock like that.
And though we don't have a lot of action this early on into the game just yet, you can see how tense these two teams are. It's almost like a tightly wound string ready to break at the first sign of any gank or anything. And
we do expect these early games to be fairly measured or cautious. Neither of these teams are big team fighting teams. RNG, again, they like the 1-3-1. Team WE are more about the late game team fight.
Did MLXG just get in there?
Yeah, we may be treated to our very first skirmish.
Cass knocks him back in. He's pinned against the wall, but flashes to Magic. That's a quick save from Celestial.
At least forcing the flash off of the Varus means that it should be a very easy repeat gank. And the fact that they were able to do that without Alistar having flash. So we're starting to see why the Gragas pick was the go-to for MLXG and where the combos and the practice maneuvers are paying off for them. So that was a sick cask.
Yeah. Knocking Mystic into Ming, setting up, but still no items in that bottom lane. Haven't even seen the Doran's, or sorry, the health potions confused. Yeah, Doran's potions. Regular potions consumed. As it's just all about the minions, all about the CS. And as expected, even just in the standard laning phase, Uzi is starting to open up an advantage.
Yeah, his CS difference at 15, I believe, is 13.
Full minions, yeah.
And the next closest person to him is...
Oh, no, 18.
It's 18. The next closest person to him is 13, and the person beneath that is 9. So Uzi is a big difference, and he, across the board, elevates RNG stats. When you start to look at their team laning stats, they're head and shoulders above any other team in the LPL, and a lot of that is just based off of Uzi's power.
And by comparison, Mystic, he's 6th, or I believe 5th in the CSD at 15, at about 3 CS ahead. That's a grand total of 15 minions, which is 300 to 400 gold, depending on the waves and a cannon creep. Uzi gets a kill just by being that much better. Sorry, a kill's worth of gold.
And what's interesting is that Uzi has the highest gold share of any player in the LPL, which that makes sense. He's the best ADC. But a lot of people would read that stat and say that that's RNG funneling all of the resources into Uzi, and that's not necessarily true. What we're saying is that Uzi also does just a great job of building his own gold lead. You know, pulls himself up from his bootstraps, makes his own fortune, and then his team gives him everything.
Yeah. And it is because of that that Uzi is lauded as the best AD carry in the league. Perhaps one of the best, or well, definitely one of the best, but perhaps the best in the world. as he is able to so often open up that advantage
You're really
for his team.
skirting that line.
Yeah, well, look, I want to call him the best in the world because he's the best in our league, and I think the LPL is the best in the world.
I follow the logic. Here we go, round 2, no flash on Varus.
Let's see, Ming has got his cask ready, holding on to the flash body slam, but MLXG doesn't find the opening he needs. Take a look at where Magic is, though. He's actually skirting around the opposite side, perhaps looking at Xiaohu. The Shockwave did just come up, and yeah, Xie and Magic are down here.
Easily spotted out, however. It feels that both teams, WE and RNG, have a read about where either jungler is, and they should just be able to shove this in and make their backs. Come on, Celestial, come home.
No, he's just going to stay in lane. In the top lane, though, 957 happily pushing into Zatai.
At this point in the game, though, I know that there's been a lot of attention and focus on the bottom lane. That's the very clear play from RNG, what they want to punish. In fact, so much so that Ming is going all the way around, probably to check for vision, clear things out, and try to open up that pathway. Hold on, I'll shelf this thought. Uh-oh.
Throwing out a ward.
The
Celestial's
bait is
already
real.
pulling back, yeah. Look at how close MLXG is playing to this side. Even Xiaohu was on his way down.
But this is the clear play from RNG, but Team WE from blue side, they have much better gank angles in on the mid lane, and they still have a Sejuani and a Rakan. So I feel like WE, if they want to force Xie unlocked from this lane because he is the Cassiopeia, instead of drawing attention bottom and meeting RNG here, they do have the option that they can actually look mid, unlock that unlock the Rakan because Varus can just sit back safely, especially if the wave is crashing into him, and throw Sej and Rakan mid lane.
But look at where the vision for WE has just been placed. Magic, oh, missed that one. As MLXG will take that with Runic Echoes. Oh boy, Celestial, you're getting close there. That's the knock-up. 1, 2, 3 feathers, but no snare. Allows Celestial to walk up and start contesting this vision. Magic is still on this bottom side, but there is a lot of aggressive vision from WE on that top half of the map. The Pixel Brush, and Magic is going to spot out MLXG, start the Dragon.
This is actually a good read from WE, understanding that MLXG's red buff has spawned, so he's going to be on the top side of the map. They now have vision that Xiaohu has gone back, and so they're very quickly going to grab an Ocean Drake. Of course, Ocean is so important for a lane phase, and I feel like we're going to have a very extended lane phase. Already 12 minutes and Tower hasn't gone down.
I mean, you even just saw the Gathering Storm on Zatai in the top lane on that Swain. Everybody is playing for the late game right here as Dragon is picked up. Magic looks to steal away the blue and pass it over to Xie.
And still having good information and read about where MLXG was. You can see that his red buff is warded. They know that he's not going to be here for about 30 seconds. Opens up the possibility to make a play bottom, although with Alistar and Xayah, very scared to do so.
Still, though, the laning phase continues. 13 minutes in, 300 gold advantage for WE as just about every single lane is going even. But take a look at this. Magic, he's been spotted by a ward. There are pings on top of him.
And RNG, they initially didn't know where Magic was. Yes, they spotted him out with the pings, but MLXG was pulled down bottom, and backs were almost canceled. Hold on.
Oh, Celestial dodges away to Mystic using that grand entrance, but that is the cask now used from MLXG. And RNG, choosing the teamfight composition, find themselves slowly but surely losing inches to WE.
Could have had a Sejuani. Could have made that exact same play.
Yep. Well, we don't see that. Instead, it is the teamfight composition from RNG. Again, they do have one game advantage over Team WE. And while you do want to win early and go home, what better way than to scrim on stage against one of the best teams in the world?
I just feel like if you get a free coupon, you don't waste it on... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where Gragas is
freebie.
going to fit in the analogy.
But back onto the map.
Oatmeal raisin cookie. If you have a free coupon for cookies, you
Some
get the
people
chocolate
like
chip.
oatmeal raisin, all right?
I actually really like it.
Yeah. Some people aren't fans of chocolate. It's uncommon, but it is entirely true. Magic's now still on this bottom half of the map.
So we can talk about this now. 8.6, you can see that Varus has completed the Rage Blade. That's fairly standard. This is the big adjustment patch for the Rage Blade. Its damage is absurd, especially when you start having extra amplifiers of magic on hit procs. Now I'm curious what the end of the Varus build will be. I was checking out Loken solo queue, although I'm gonna have to shelf it again because this is round 6 of this gank attempt.
I know. MLXG really wants to make something happen down here.
But the end of the Varus builds, I'm very curious. Loken was playing a pretty standard Varus. He had the Rage Blade, he went for the 80 and then the Hurricane, whereas other Varus builds have been experimenting with the Void Staff, with the Death Cap, with stacking magic
AP,
damage
yeah.
and grabbing that Gnasher's Tooth as well. So definitely want to keep our eyes peeled on that. Is action? Nope, no action.
The helicopter parent hovering once again Xiaohu, he's got vision on this side of the map.
Cleanse.
He doesn't see Celestial over there as well. And yeah, you did mention the cleanse. Sped up, he walks away from Magic, who is finally spotted. That Frost armor broken by the command dissonance.
Just a lot of looking at each other this game.
It really is. And Magic, this seems to be a very slow, intelligent game from WE. They're playing around the vision of RNG. You can see the wards that RNG have placed to try to spot this out, but constantly sweeping in, clearing out what they can. We're also seeing Celestial and Magic work together more so than Xie and Magic from earlier in the split as they're controlling vision on this bottom half.
And the scary thing is that this isn't RNG's usual MO. They are much closer to Invictus Gaming in that it's a win lane, win game type of style, known for their 1-3-1, known for their ability to close out early games. They had one of the fastest average game times in the LPL. Team WE, if you go over 40 minutes, they have a 70% chance of winning that game.
That's a scary statistic. You do not want to take it late. It's only 24 minutes away from that, Frosk.
I guess the mentality could be as a coach perspective, if you take a team fight composition and you beat a team at what they're good at, then you mentally get inside their head. You can shake them and say, you can't even play your style against us. We gave you the champions that you like and you failed.
That said, they actually have to win though. Magic on the invade. This is a bit risky. MLXG sitting in the tri-bush. That's a knock-up. Again, the Frost armor broken. Magic turns for the engage. Ming blocking these hits as Uzi just sits back in that brush. Xie getting pulled down faster than Xiaohu means RNG can't turn what could have been a pick into a kill.
Still reading around this bot lane, though, as it looks like we're actually going to try to force this. Reinforcements
down here,
and mid laners.
Over the wall, that's the knock-up. Target is going to be Celestial. He drops the quickness, goes in, dashes over the wall, but stopwatch the engage. MLXG retreats. Magic in the front, and still Mystic is free-firing. Uzi finally steps forward to match him. His teleport is completed from both top laner. Flash from 957, and over the wall he goes.
Both teleports, and everyone walks away with their lives. Not even a ton of flashes expended there. I believe it was just MLXG's.
And 957 in order to escape the never move.
As the cute little Gnar was standing behind everyone about to go into Mega, he's like,
can we take this? Can we
really
do it?
Feel like
and look at where Xie. Oh man, just another snake in the grass. MLXG, he thinks something's wrong. He knows something's wrong. Waits out the barrel cooldown. And Xie will back away.
And that is a perfect example of how this entire game has gone for the first 18 minutes. It's just everyone knows what everyone is doing, and they're just making eyes at each other.
The new age rivalry of the LPL, WE and RNG, taking game one slowly and seriously. No cheese, no surprises, and just playing out that calm, intelligent macro team fight game. And that is actually working out for WE's favor. They're slowly increasing their gold lead up to 700 now. We're seeing the advantage for 957 in the top lane. Slight CS advantage for Xie in the mid lane. Pretty moderate advantage for Magic in the jungle. And Mystic is going even with Uzi. It's not the 15 CS differential we predicted.
But it also hasn't been an isolated 2v2. That has been a 3v3 this entire game over the repeat ganks. And yes, RNG have been ganking more often, but Sejuani has definitely had full control or more control over the bottom side of that river, giving Mystic the safety that he can trade effectively with the Varus.
You know, it's funny, we call Magic the helicopter parent for Xie because he hovered around the mid lane so much during the regular season, but MLXG is hanging around that bottom half of the map.
36% of Magic's ganks go to the mid lane. He is absolutely a helicopter parent, but like you said, kind of changing things up.
MLXG still hanging on this bottom side, communicating pretty effectively with Ming to control vision, look for these engages, waiting for WE to overstep themselves, and this could be it. Ming, headbutt pulverize. He's found Celestial. Mystic walks it back under the turret. He's stunned. MLXG, he's got the cast, but a flash gets him to safety. Xiaohu doesn't get there in time. And this is the first proactive roam we've seen from Xiaohu.
Second flash burn for Varus. See if they're able to punish it this time around. It's also a repeat Ocean Dragon, and RNG, if they really want to try to force something out of this, could maybe look to collapse. With so many key ultimates still being up, I don't think it's likely.
He is actually heading up towards the top half. Zatai, low health. He's got his flash. Blast cone over the walls. Zatai pops into the demonic ascension. The minion wave has been cleared up, but Xie still steps forward. This could be first blood. 957 tanking, and Xie gets it passed over. Magic, meanwhile, overextends on the other side, but backs off.
And at 20 minutes in the game, on Xie's Cassiopeia of all things, we finally get a first blood. And it also showcases why Xie is so important. Even on a non-roam champion, the team still demands that he is the guy that is making the proactive plays and getting it done.
And you just saw those stats on the top of your screen. When WE get that first blood, which they do in 2/3 of their games, their win rate goes up by a whopping 15%. Magic hops over the wall a little bit late there. He's still got the Glacial Storm. Who's he going to target? Ming, but doesn't get the range. And that's just a flash from the Alistar to walk it off.
So recognizing that Ming didn't have his ultimate available, so he wouldn't be able to just pop out of the hard CC, unfortunately, Ali just gets to walk away.
Just outside of the range. And now Magic and Xie going to push up a bit in the mid lane. They know there's no flash from MLXG. They're going to push not one, but 2 lanes at the same time as 957 looks to take it down. Solo, first brick in the top lane.
And unfortunately, we haven't gotten a lot of time to look up into the top lane. I feel like this has really been one of those games where the top laners show up and you're like, wow, I have a Gnar?
Yeah.
There's a Swain in this game? And while there hasn't been a lot of blood action happening up there, aside from the first blood, the fact that 957 has a pretty sustainable CS lead, Gnar is considered one of the decent matchups into Swain, and just takes the tower for free, and no one came to help him. You know, we were talking before, Dom, that if you put in MLXG, this could be attention and focus for Zatai up on the top side, but he's been completely left on an island.
And I just want to point out what WE just did here on the way out of base. They didn't go into lane. They went to the Baron to check for vision to see if RNG were there. Again, this is a Cassiopeia Varus with Guinsoo's and Wit's End.
Oh, they know.
If there wasn't a ward there,
they're going to shred it.
That would have been terrifying. RNG were completely unprepared on the other side of the map. Ming is only just now getting to the Baron.
But it is very dangerous to take a fight around the Baron,
yes,
which is why the vision control is so important against RNG's composition. That is an Orianna, Alistar, Gragas, Swain. Anywhere that you're clumping up like that, especially in the jungle or especially in the river, can be so punishing. So if Team WE want to try to pull the trigger on this, which it's fairly obvious, we see LPL teams itemized to do this all the time, they need to make sure that they are going to hit.
And this is where we look to 957. You mentioned his performance just a moment ago. If he can get a good flank and prevent RNG from finding the clump of the 4-man, from utilizing that 1-4 effectively, then WE could be in a much better situation. And that's exactly what we see right now. 957 on the bottom half of the map. 4 members from WE hanging out in the mid lane, looking for a vulnerability, looking for an opening. They don't find it, but they're still going to keep hunting.
So the mentality from Team WE at this point is you look at Varus' items, and even though Rageblade has been adjusted so it scales a bit better, it's still a ridiculous spike, and that's why they want to fight.
MLXG is the target. He's on Miasma, but Ming goes in. A Shockwave pulls Celestial back, and he gets dunked down. The first kill for RNG.
And this is what I suspected about the Gragas pick, is that its ability to reset team fights or to isolate very immobile champions. If you have a Varus, a Cassiopeia, even a Rakan who's going to use his initial dive in and out, you can very quickly make snatches and grabs like that.
Zeke's convergence now finished off for Celestial should provide just a little bit more opportunity to get in and out in these next stages.
Absurdly so. Think about, again, we have all of these ADCs that are running around that can itemize into Nashor's, Guinsoo's, and then if you have a Zeke's on top of that, your magic damage shred is incredible. So we take another look. Again, Team WE, they want to fight because they recognize how potent and powerful Mystic is right now, but it's just a better mechanical play from RNG. The fact that the flash is pretty much means nothing because of a well-placed Shockwave.
And that said, we now see Magic and Celestial in their first ever playoff game getting to play a slow and measured style, getting acclimated to the pressure of the stage, especially against RNG. And their veteran players of 957, Xie, and Mystic are doing well in each of their lanes. That sort of emotional boost has got to be building up these young players so much, which could provide a lot of momentum for WE in this series. If we end up going 1-1, even overall, just down to a best of 3, this could be an explosive best of 5.
And it's the X factor. You know, 957 is not necessarily running away with the game, but he did get a lot of solo gold by taking first brick by himself. And now, bottom, eating up all of this experience, getting up all these free CS, and he is on the big Mega Gnar pick, but he's also itemized that he can continue to try to punish that Swain in an elongated lane.
And look at how Xiaohu had to itemize to try to cope with that. Void Staff second for the penetration so that he makes sure if there is a fight that WE are currently looking for, I will be able to do damage to the front line. I may not be able to 100-0 the back line, but it's not about those quick bursts, those quick hits. Still 25 minutes in, 957 just going to keep absorbing wave after wave as it's a nearly a full item advantage for Xie. Needlessly large rod now picked up for Xiaohu as he makes his way back out. And while it is one Ocean Dragon between the two, the third Ocean Dragon is going to spawn in 70 seconds. So still, the laning phase drags on.
It's not about the monster objective timers. I mean, yes, the Baron is still very important, but again, it's more about the windows around these 80 carries. This was not a match about RNG versus WE. This is a match about Mystic and Uzi.
Yeah.
These guys have some bad blood between them. One of them has been the best ADC. One of them has now taken that crown away from him. And this is just, you know, putting it to bed. Who's really better?
I mean, we're going to find out at the end of this series, won't we? That's the dream. That's the hope. But I am just so surprised to see RNG play this different style when Uzi has been having one of the best splits of his life, and they take a different style that is not completely Uzi-centric during the laning phase, during the early game. It's more about macro. It's more about intelligent maneuvering around the map. RNG, perhaps this is them looking forward, looking beyond WE, looking at the next opponents in the bracket, Snake and Invictus Gaming, and saying, hey, we might not just be able to brute force our way through Snake or Invictus Gaming if we take this series here.
It's also giving responsibility to other members on the team.
Yeah.
Ming, it's his signature Alistair pick that he was able to grab access to. That is kind of the core of the composition, because he's going to go in first and he's going to be followed directly by Xiaohu. And you can already see those two kind of blitzing in and leading the charge like, get out of this river. There's no way that you can step forward and contest this vision. But yeah, Uzi's the guy. He's the carry, the leader. But this should all be about Ming.
That's exactly who's been caught there, as he uses that big shockwave onto 3 and the cast to separate them, but there's no damage, there's no follow-up.
Just for added measure, just throw the cask in.
Yeah. Get them stacked up so I can split them back apart.
It does mean that RNG are missing 3 key ultimates, so again, now power dynamic will swing back to Team WE. And they should use this advantage to force into that river and clear it out, because RNG can't contest, which is why they want to try to force the waves. And they want to say, if you're going to go clear out the vision, you will lose something, whether that's EXP or gold.
Just like Malphite, you will lose. 957 is actually starting off the Baron here.
They
know that the cooldowns are still burned. WE going to try to burn through it. All 5 members have grouped up. Celestial is stacking up just on the bottom, but here comes Xiaohu as he steps forward. Baron's at half health. The collapse from RNG. They're coming in from 2 directions.
And look at the shockwave cooldown. It is just about to come up. This is a very risky play from Team WE. Even just looking at a possible 50-50, and RNG just sat back and they said, we don't even need to expend our teleport. Swain just casually walked from the bottom side of the map towards the Baron River.
We talked a bit about the shred of the Cassiopeia Varus. Well, they perhaps need a bit more itemization to make sure that shred happens that much faster. As Zatai heads back down into the bottom lane to catch the wave, prepped by 957. 28 minutes, and still the stakes are rising.
And like I was saying, is that this match was about the cooldowns in the windows around 80 carry itemization. So Xayah deciding 2.5 items to go for a defensive, having the QSS available, as opposed to completing her secondary Zeal item, is going to be kind of the bump or the hiccup in the road. But if anyone's going to have the extra gold laying around to quickly grab a defensive item, probably going to be Uzi.
Yeah. Of all people, not able to get a huge CS lead over Mystic in this game, but still having a strong performance, though we haven't seen him really been able to do too much so far because there has been so little actual action in terms of kills.
And excuse me, his Infinity Edge.
Ah, yes. IE now picked up, but that said, take a look at Mystic's build on the other side. Mystic might be a level down, but he's already finished off that Blade of the Ruined King, the low-cost Wit's End, and the reduced cost of the Gwinsus now means that WE have a bit of a power spike for that Varus.
And still, a ton of now sustain built into his build, and a lot of threat over this Baron is still kind of Team WE's primary win condition.
Oh, but that's MLXG stepping forward. Uzi might be there to catch him. The cask and the flash is ready. Mystic just holds on. Turns around and walks away when under the gaze of a 500-strong audience.
Not even trying to force the flash off of Varus.
And still they maneuver around the map, trying to open up advantages, trying to keep pace over their opponent. 957 has gotten himself behind Xiaohu. Randuin's for the slow. Shockwave dodged by Xie, but Xiaohu flashes in. It's an engage from 2 sides, and while Varus isn't there, it's still the advantage going to WE so far. Ming with the headbutt is able to get back under his turret. But 957 is mega. Is he thinking of the dive? Ming steps a bit too far. Piercing arrow from Mystic pierces Ming's heart And that's also the mid-tier 1 going down.
That's an absolute disaster. The reason...
Oh, the flash engage onto Zatai. He's got his own flash, but he's not even going to get the chance to use it.
Zatai didn't even know what hit him. He caught me off guard with that. Never mind much the top laner. That's now key members down for RNG. Yes, they still have the smite. They no longer have a blast cone. I think Team WE are going to pull the trigger on Baron.
Yeah, they're grouped up into the pit, 9-5-7, ready to zone or hop in at a moment's notice. MLXG has no vision. He's trying to take the long way around, but that's the shred we were talking about.
He doesn't even just have vision. He doesn't have Uzi. Uzi has just completely said, this is not a situation that we can contest anymore. I don't have the itemization. We don't have members. We don't have position. I'm going to take Ocean.
And this game, now the Baron has just been picked up by WE, seems so antithetical to the LPL in general. 9-5-7 starts it off.
And Xiaohu's going to catch a lot of flack for this, even though Xie played that perfectly. But we don't know. Was that Xiaohu not hearing a call or disregarding a call about where 9-5-7 was? Or was that Zatai not communicating cross-map that Gnar was going to have the flank there? Because obviously caught off guard, and it wasn't just Xiaohu being caught off guard. This then quick snatch and grab of Swain, like that's the real difference maker. If Swain was still alive, they maybe would have had enough to force them off the Baron, but with Swain also dying, that was the nail in the coffin.
And now WE with the Baron buff for 3 minutes. They've still got teleport on 9-5-7. They've got the opportunity to play that 1-4 composition. Rabadon's finished by both mid laners, as Runon's is now finished off by Mystic. Slowly this gold lead is starting to balloon. And as I was saying, Indiana, this play style from these two teams doesn't look like the LPL. If you turned off the tags and the titles, it almost feels like an LCK game.
I wouldn't go that far, but I can understand what you're saying. It is a bit of a different pace for us. But I will say it's much closer and aligned with Team WE, and that's the primary problem that I see with this game.
Yes.
We came in, the desk said it, I'm aligned with the desk. I feel like this is much more a weighted series towards RNG, not just in the score line, but in just how these two teams have been performing. RNG came in game number 1, and they decided to try to play WE style. And WE showcasing why they still made it to playoffs without Condi and Bin. They are still terrifyingly good at this style.
Taking it slow, playing the team fights, looking for openings to strike and strike fast.
And playing front to back. It was technically a flank that caught them those picks, but this composition, their itemization, it's pretty clear. They just want to group everyone, put their tank line in front of them, set the line of scrimmage, and then just slowly roll over RNG like a tank.
That's exactly what we see. MLXG is trying to be the bastion that stops the bulldozer of Team WE, but he can only do so much with that one cask, though he is on the side of Team WE now. Xie steps up, and that's the miasma. Now they finally spot the Gragas, and the push begins proper for WE. Mystic starts firing across on the turret, and Uzi is forced to back away. This is now the second tier 2 to go down for Team RNG.
And they've got their waves actually set up in either side lane, so they can quickly rotate and continue this siege. Makes most sense to go top, of course, because the last standing outer is probably the easiest objective to get behind and contest.
Recall means items first, turrets second. Xie gets blue buff as he's now pinging up towards that top wave, and RNG have to know this is coming. How on earth can they defend against this?
It's going to be about that wombo combo. We talked about it earlier, and we're going to say it repeatedly because that's really the core of their composition. All eyes are on Ming and Xiaohu and how they can land that pivotal shockwave. Check out Xiaohu's itemization. If it hits, it's going to hurt.
4 full items for Xie to the 3 of Xiaohu, and while he will do damage, will he be able to match that of the Cassiopeia? It might only be a 23 CS advantage, but that neutral gold from WE is just pushing WE up.
But I want to expand on my statement, because it's not just about hitting anyone. He has to hit that backline. I mean, we have Adaptive Helm, Abyssal Mask already built up on the Cassiopeia as well as the Gnar. So, again, it's not just the zone control, it's hitting that immobile Varus.
Ooh, Cask and the Never Move, but Xie, even without a flash, get blocked against the wall. MLXG looking very hopeful with that and not finding anything. Zatai is able to step forward and zone WE back until the Baron wears off, but this is still a 1-4 split for WE. 9-5-7 is working in the mid lane.
And it's going to continue to be because 9-5-7 has Mega Gnar evolved right now, so unfortunately he can't immediately look for a team fight up into the top side. Should be a couple more waves while he tries to stack that back up if they want to look for a possible dive.
Now it's Magic's turn to sweep out Vision and look for a pick of his own as that cask is about halfway to the cooldown. The siege continues, just keeping RNG stacked in this turret and denying the ability for Uzi to start getting that massive gold. Just forcing RNG to split that gold between both Uzi, Xiaohu, and Zatai all in the same lane. Finally, the swap has been called. Zatai shows up bottom, and immediately 9-5-7 just groups up with his team.
because that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for 957 to have the Mega Gnar back available. So you can see his rage bar. That's the go button. This is why we've been sitting up here being patient. The fact that the Baron has worn off and Team W are still here tells me that they really do want to force this team fight.
And 957, he's actually spotting out Ming just by that red buff, making sure that he knows there's not going to be any Alistar Hex flashes or flash engages from behind. Ticks over to Mega doing the Raptor camp.
They just need to go home. There's no reason to continue to extend forward. In fact, the Gragas cask is back up, so now the option is that RNG can just reverse this and look for a counter engage. Elder Dragon is spawning in 1 minute. Team WE, you don't have Baron buff. You don't have your Mega Gnar. Your waves are, yes, crashing, but you need to actually back and start setting up for that Elder.
And it's not just one wave, it's all 3 waves crashing in at the same time. 957 escorts mid. The large minion wave bottom is caught by Zatai. Here's the window. Here's the timing, but Magic is by the red buff with Celestial. Those are the big engage members. And yes, you've swept out the vision. You know that the area is clear, but the window is there, and you missed it. Still, RNG defend their turret. It's been chipped down to about half.
This has been a 4-minute siege.
It has. This is what sieges are supposed to be. You bring the whole army, you set up the supply line, deny the resources of RNG. And while it hasn't been able to yield too many results for WE, it seems like they've finally given up to complete that recall. QSS picked up for Mystic on his way back. Warmogs and Locket finished for Magic.
And now the play comes back. So we're setting up for the Elder. Team WE do have tempo advantage into reaching it. So now it's a very precarious situation for RNG. They have to walk into small choke points, into dark vision. Luckily, they do have a single control ward that's been sitting on the Dragon Pit for God knows how long.
Providing quite a bit of value for RNG. Ming is able to sneak down behind them. That tier 1 is still there. There are pings now onto the front of the pit. Ming is still holding on.
That's the X factor. Ming, don't be patient.
They're all stacked up. They're all stacked up. Xiaohu is there. The flash from Mystic. He gets out. The target is Magic, but that means Flash is still ready. Glacial Storm forces Xiaohu away, and Ming goes low and dies. The support traded and knocked in. 957 teleports to chase Xiaohu out of the fight as Magic. Tanking in the front. Zatai goes golden in the Ascension, but it's not enough. Mystic is low, but he's still alive. Uzi has still been free-firing. Finally, he's caught up to by Xie, taking damage in the poison. The chase and the double kill. Xie has slain the Mad Dog, but has he put him to bed? It's 7-1 WE.
And that was the one X factor that RNG had, managing to get Ming behind enemy lines to try to set up an engagement like there, finds the wrong target, hits the Sejuani, nothing comes of it, a complete whitewash of a team fight, and a free Elder. That's now both epic monster objectives to Team WE.
And we call WE the Elder Dragon team for a good reason. Their team fights in that specific area of the map when the Elder Dragon spawns around the 35 minutes are so terrifying. They're turning onto the Baron, and MLXG, he's got a smite but no flash. And with Xie stepping up at level 18, there's no chance MLXG can contest this. But he might be trying to prove me wrong as 957 is even body blocking there.
All the way over with the blast cone.
Yeah.
MLXG
send him all the way home.
Exactly, all the way back to his inner turret top side. So free Baron, free Elder, and another free siege from Team WE. Probably gonna last another 7 minutes.
Yeah, just keep on playing it out. Ming from behind, but missed it.
Flashing the W animation right there to get on the other side. Couldn't find the right target. I feel like Ming should have been a bit more patient there, waiting until at least Xiaohu was closer to try to punish something, but they get a little bit antsy, they pull the trigger a little bit too quickly, and they lose their key engage options. And again, if you're trying to fight this composition from Team WE front to back, you've already lost.
And that was Uzi trying to step up, do the damage that his team needed him to do. 430 CS, 3.5, nearly 4 items if you consider the 2 half items. But you cannot step up against the Miasma that Xie locks down in both his engage and escape path. And like you said, that Baron is ticking away for a good 2.5 minutes. The tier 2 is still standing up top. How do WE set up their waves to break the base this time?
And how do RNG set up a comeback? And it's to set up a death brush. They understand that their win condition is solely on hitting these key ultimates on key members of Team WE and immediately deleting someone before the team fight. So while yes, Team WE have had control for 99% of this game, if they continue to stall out late enough, and there is an abundance of wave clear between Xayah and Orianna, as well as Swain on RNG's comp, if it just goes to a coin flip 50-50, RNG could theoretically still win the game.
Ah, yes. The old IME strategy. Against Team WE.
It's a favorite.
Yes. It's a bold move, Cotton. A bold strategy, to say the least. We'll see how it plays out, though. As again, the next wave is retrieved. Bottom lane is pushing for Team WE, slowly stacking up. That'll hit in about 30 seconds to a minute. And eventually someone's going to have to deal with that. Ming, he's behind them again, though. But the Siege still just battering down on this inhibitor turret. WE taking it nice and slow. That's the quickness, never mind. He steps forward. The cask is going to get Magic and Mystic forward. The turret's finally broken. Ming is in the back, but Celestial is already engaged in the front. Never move on to Mystic. He's low, but Locket keeps him healthy. 957 hops over the wall, and still WE don't overextend. Their playoff lives are on the line in this series. They want to close it out cleanly.
And no one would have expected this type of front to come from Team WE. Yes, we know that 957 is known for his playoff buff, but Mystic has been very inconsistent in Magic and Celestial. This is their first time on such a large stage. So not showing a ton of nerves here, standing in line, and maybe just speaks to the strength of Team WE's spine of having those core 3 members together.
And we heard on the desk the will WE take a late game team fight? Well, if RNG just give it to them, it turns out that yes, they will.
Even at this point, they don't even need to fight. Like you said, they're just playing it very clean. They came for the objective, they got the objective, and they disengage. And there's not a lot of options on RNG's composition to force them to fight, which is why, again, Ming is so important. When he's looking for these flanking plays, as you could see, he's slipped up onto that top brush, and he doesn't find them. That's all they have, because they have a Gragas.
Ooh, that's a Shockwave. Mystic in the wrong position has been knocked forward, but he's still alive and firing across. Shie body blocking for his AD carry as 957 on the side zones Uzi from entering.
Tried to find the Varus, immediately reset his position, couldn't break him, and now they are fighting one team member down, and a lot of key ultimates missing. This should just be the inhib. If RNG choose to plant their feet and fight there, they die and lose the game.
And Mystic didn't flash or heal. He just held on to his summoners during that engage. That means with one man down, WE not only take the inhib, but also set up for the next. They are controlling the map, pushing minion waves mid with those supers, controlling waves on both bottom and top. And the next Elder Dragon is the one that's going to last for 5 full minutes. It's going to be spawning soon, and if WE continue to just take their time with this, RNG, yes, they might have a strong late game, but they cannot compete with those neutral objectives.
And reminder, majority of the time when WE and RNG face each other, it does go to full 5 games. There's only been one instance that it was a 3-0, and that was when Team WE lifted the LPL Champions Cup.
Might get a chance to see something similar here as WE try to 3-0 RNG in this series. They have to start with this game 1, just playing it nice and slow, taking every single objective. And we are nearly at 6 items for that Cassiopeia. Teleport to get Celestial back in. 957 is building up to Mega.
Unsealed Spellbook.
And the waves just keep on crashing. This siege is even more dangerous because the turret top is a tier 2. That's going to break so much easier than that inhibitor.
Still dealing with abundance of wave clear, however, so it's not super punishing for Ori to A, use her mobility, quickly cruise over to the mid lane.
Yeah, but we've seen the strategy once. Our WE just set up the slow siege, take their time, lock RNG into their base, starve them out, wait for the neutral objectives to spawn, then go and take them.
Still very dangerous to do against RNG. Probably the best team at making their waves all crash together. So this is a very practiced Team WE 5v5 style, but this is Team WE playing or closing out a game in a very practiced RNG style. Both these players and these teams go way back. They face each other 5 times now over the course of 4 splits.
And again, this is the 4th time that they've met in playoffs. WE just bringing wave after wave. Super minions now pushing in mid lane, getting closer and closer to the Nexus turrets. MLXG is forced to pull back, and already the OMW ping from Celestial on my way. He's still got that Zeke's convergence, holding on to the quickness, grand entrance, and flash. They now see Zatai on the other side.
And no one engages. And 957 had access to Meganar, so seeing that Swain was topside, losing that surprise, there they go.
That's the engage. Ming with the knockback, but Shockwave from Xiao, who misses as he's Glacial Storm. Celestial backing away, Magic tanking in the front. Ming is low, and still no one has died. 957 drops into Mini. And the fight disengages. Whew, I'm holding my breath.
This has been one of the weirdest LPL games
Yeah.
I think I've ever seen. We are normally a very fast, very bloody region. I cannot believe that Team WE has bent RNG to their will, and that Uzi is possibly starting out his series. Like, you have to think of the momentum. That 0-1, RNG were gifted that point. They ride the momentum of a very consistent, a very dominant, regular split to have this advantage, and it looks like Team WE are on the cusp of evening that up. And then you have to think about that little voice in Uzi's head. Am I being undone again?
The not-so-little voice at this point. The uncrowned king of WE. The crownless king himself. Elder Dragon is up in 10 seconds, but Baron has already spawned. Those two neutral objectives happen to sync up. And as a result, RNG, aware of this, find themselves now pushing in the mid lanes. Atai hits the never move onto 2. And Visions of Empire lets him see his targets. But Elder Dragon seems to be on the docket for MLXG. He's sitting just outside of this vision. Come on, WE. Take the bait.
There's no reason for them to go over there. They would much rather have the Baron than the Elder, and it looks like we will have a trade for both epic monsters.
And to follow up on what you said, Indiana, this is WE bending RNG to their will, but also it's RNG bending after an incredibly dominant second half of the split with Uzi's return after the New Year. This is them playing a completely different style and looking like they can't keep up with WE.
At this late in the game is, I guess we're just taking a look at a replay about a disengage, is what this felt like. Hard engage into disengage, into everyone blows their cooldowns, and then we all just calmly walk away from each other.
But again, RNG actually bending to the will of WE is a bit scary.
Ah, right. So at this, sorry.
Lost train of thought.
I was like, I guess we're going to show this
Yeah.
replay. I'm all aboard for it. The fact that this late in the game, RNG's comms were just going to be stalled out. Wait, look for the team fight. They understand what their win conditions are, so while it does look that RNG are just being bled out by Team WE, the circumstance is if they want to win the game, this is exactly what they have to do, and you can see that they're very calm and measured about it. Team WE have now been gifted 2 Barons and an Elder and unable to close, and RNG are still proactively hunting, looking for those flanks. So I don't want the viewers to be looking at this 47-minute game and be like, Team WE got this in the bag.
Yeah.
Because RNG are still very controlled about understanding exactly where and when they need to make that punch.
So perhaps not bending, but like the Willow, flexible, allowing themselves to match WE here. And remember, that tier 1 is paper thin. It's just an emotional defense at this point, this late in the game. Ming can happily dive that.
Drawing it out, looking for the pick. So for RNG, MLXG and Ming need to find a valuable target. Either Xie needs to be knocked out of position or Mystic needs to be knocked out of position. If they survive the initial burst of the Wombo combo, Team WE will just walk through RNG with the overtime sustained damage from Varus and Cassiopeia.
And as we approach the 50-minute mark, still no massive fights outside of the one at Elder Dragon and the one prior just before it, which WE have already shown they're both successful with. 6 items picked up on most members of these teams. Even the supports are getting close to it.
That's how you know it's a bad time. When the supports are running around at 6 items, you're like, I need to sell an item so I can have space for control boards.
Ming is still sitting on 3 minion dematerializers on the off chance that WE decide to look for the bannered cannon minion.
Ming has been splinter selling his way into this backline.
The shockwave, Celestial, way out of position with magic. The 2 newcomers from WE die. Mystic flashes back. Now it's the 3 veterans single-handedly taking on RNG. But Mystic gets pulled in, and he cannot stand his ground. He's actually healing. Mystic is still alive, finally dies, as he will trade his life for Uzi's, though, and Xie and 957 zone RNG back.
Uzi dies with his flash up, was not expecting Mystic to be able to sit there, plant his feet, and be that tanky, really. Between the Wits End, between the Blade of the Rune King, that was ridiculous damage.
And that's the rookies making the mistake for WE, getting caught out of position. And that will definitely slow the momentum for Team WE just a bit.
But you can already see how much of a knife's edge this game still is. You step out of position for a split second and RNG can punish you this late in the game. We are literally going to have a game where it's going to come to a 50-50 team fight and one team is just going to run it down mid lane.
Oh, wow. 957 gets the stun onto Uzi, which gives Mystic enough time to free fire and finish him off while being killed.
Twice that 957 has made hero miracle plays. We're just going to combine the word.
Miracle, yeah. Hercules.
On the Gnar. He had it the last series that he managed to get that champion, finding a quick turnaround when Celestial decided to hand deliver Mystic into the enemy team backline as Tom Kinch, and then finds it there again to punish Uzi. Not able to find his flash, CC locked against the wall.
And look at these Gathering Storm stats. 120 AP, 72 AD.
And we don't normally reach this late game in the LPL, so think of how long that graphic has just been sitting in the back room. Like,
somebody prepared this week 1 of the LPL.
We're going to be able to talk about Gathering Storm, just all of the bonuses it's going to give you. And then every game ends at 33 minutes, and now we're looking at 51 minutes on the clock.
And all of these teams are grouped up still. Elder Dragon going to be spawning a little bit later than the Baron this time, as those neutrals won't be synced quite yet.
We've got the new item.
Shirelius is back.
It's back. So obviously it's a go item. Alistar, that's what he's been trying to do all game. Again, attempting another flank, has the Reverie now, so he can get into that back line. It's plus 40% movement speed.
Now, the longest game in the LPL Spring Split was 67 minutes and about 54 seconds. That was Suning versus Snake in Chongqing. So only about 18 minutes away, Frost.
We're going the distance.
We just might be.
But why this actually matters is player mentality. And because Uzi is on the field, yes, he is such a veteran, but in recently sitting down and speaking with Uzi, the interview, of course, aired before this game, he is aware that his emotions do cloud him. He, to this day, still gets that haze, that tilt. And his #1 problem that he needs to overcome from Uzi's words are those emotions. So if you have a 67-minute game and you lose, when you had an advantage into a series, you can disrupt Uzi.
But will that be WE's plan in this? Or will RNG actually be able to ride that knife's edge and pull WE back over towards their side of things? This is just a constant tug of war in the mid lane. Baron is up in 1 minute. Elder Dragon shortly thereafter. Both of the teams had the prior Elder, so huge onus on these teams to control it. Ming is actually splitting up WE as RNG push up into the mid lane onto the inhibitor. 957 tries to hold ground, but Xie is way out of position. The flash engaged to look for 957. But he just holds on. Here's Celestial from behind. They're all stacked up. The inhib turret is down. Mystic has got Xie to hold him in place. Ming breaks free, and that's going to be the Chains of Corruption. Ming still holding the line. Command attack to zone away. MLXG goes forward, and he's knocked right back out. 957 still looking for the window. Shockwave has finally found Celestial, but it's MLXG who has died. Uzi is backing away. He cannot find an opening. 2 kills, WE.
And the fact that it's a viable target that Team WE can actually just melt through RNG's tank line. They managed to find both Alistar and Gragas with the big heavy points of CC, lock them down, melt them, and then without the zoning front line, Xiaohu and Uzi just had to back up.
And not only is the Baron spawning, it's 60 seconds for that Elder, and look at the death timers for MLXG and Zatai. He is going to have to book it across the map if he wants to make it to that neutral objective.
Third back-to-back Barons claimed from Team WE over the course of a 53-minute slugfest between these teams.
And it's not actually WE going down to look for the Elder Dragon. They're actually going top. They've already prepped that inhibitor turret to be quite low, as 957 actually teleported mid. WE, they might even try to ignore the Elder, at least set up the inhibs so that they can take it later.
If RNG make a mistake here and decide to try to hold the inhib, then they will just end the game. They could have actually tried to force it, though. Magic has his ultimate back up, and he sees 3 members mid.
957 is actually caught out. The Guardian Angel has been popped. Here comes Magic. They're coming to 957's rescue. Ming in the front. The knockup. 957 still alive. He's burning from the Ignite and will finally die. But Uzi backs it up. He gets the Blade Caller. He's doing so much damage. That's 1. That's 2. It's nearly 3 as Mystic is healing up. Teleport. They step onto each other and go head-to-head. They're triple kill. Now it's mid versus mid. Visions of Empire to zone Xie. Xiaohu is chasing, and MLXG will hound him down. Xie, can you outplay this? He doesn't have the ultimate. He's just got raw damage. Ran for the slow, and he sidesteps the cast. He's still going, but finally dies. RNG turn towards that Elder.
If they lose the game, it's that team fight, that decision-making right there. They had the opportunity, Baroned up on a top inhib. They decided they wanted to kill RNG and try to end the game. They rotate mid, and they are punished for it. Uzi stepping up massive there
and
for
they're
his
not
team.
even going for the Elder Dragon. Look at the death timers. 30 seconds and the minion wave is on its way. Zatai has got the damage. Xiaohu has got the damage. He
cannot
immediately
believe they just
clears
threw like that.
out the wave. 20 seconds left on the death timers. It's going to be close, Indiana, as Xiaohu just keeps on firing.
It's over. It's done.
Key after key. And it will break down onto the Nexus. 10 seconds on the death timer, and RNG at a deficit for the entire game win a single team fight off the back of Uzi and are now on match point.
The question of the desk was, will Team WE get that miracle team fight, an absurd win rate if a game goes over 40 minutes? And RNG stands strong around Uzi, and it's him who gets the last laugh. The fact that he dies simultaneously with Mystic, just some salt in the wound. I cannot believe Team WE threw like that.
Life happily traded. Uzi knows his value, knows his worth to his team, and knows what he has to do in that moment, and he absolutely hits the bar.
This is my #1 complaint with Uzi, that in big pressure situations, he doesn't step up. Yes, you can show up on an international stage, but domestically, he has been entirely absent. That is Uzi in round 1, day 1 of playoffs, stepping up and finally being a hard carry for his team.
And look at that gold graph. RNG were a grand total of 204 gold ahead of WE, while the early game might have been slow for 18, 19 minutes.
They just won a game with a gold deficit.
Yeah, WE controlled everything. They controlled the fights, they controlled the neutral objectives, they controlled the entire map, but they could not control the Mad Dog.
Just a split-second bad call from WE. Again, Baroned up, they had the crashing wave, they could have taken free inhibs, they saw that RNG were pressured forward, they tried to make the pick, and if they had gotten those kills, they would have ended the game. So Uzi standing strong, working with his team, working with his tank line and Xiaohu, and stopping that, that's what won them the game.
And we're seeing WE with both their veterans and their rookies starting to get this playoff buff. They're starting to turn online, but if they want to advance to the next stage, they now have to reverse sweep against RNG. It's going to be quite a challenge, but if any team is up for it, it's got to be WE.
And it's a devastating, momentum-draining loss
yeah.
there. For Team WE to already be a point down and then to lose like that, I don't know if they have the veteranship between this squad to come back.
Well, we're going to have to find out if they do. Now it's time for our analysts to break down how exactly that Game 1 went down.
Thanks, Dom. And the casters are absolutely right. Now RNG are at match point just after the first game in this best of 5 series.
Yeah, 2-0 to go 2-0 after a game like that is devastating for Team WE because it's not just a Game 1 loss. You can't go backstage and be like, all right, boys, it's all good. We've got one more game in the bag anyway. We can afford to... You can't.
It's
you
not
cannot
all good.
afford a thing.
It's not all good. I'm pissed off.
Why are you pissed off, Raz?
Give me that pen.
Okay. My
Okay.
pen's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone. You know why I'm pissed off?
Why are you pissed off,
WE
Raz?
had a 10k gold advantage, and they decided that, oh, you know what? Look at the composition of RNG. They have Orianna full wave clear. They have the Swain to just kind of double tier as well, and the shield from the Locket of the Iron Solari. They were not going to get died. In fact, the Mega Gnar timing was so poor that every single time the wave hit the tower, he was in Mini Gnar. Why isn't he in a side lane? Why isn't he mid lane shepherding the wave? Why isn't he top lane when his entire bottom, or at least his entire 4-man squad is in the bottom lane? Why are they trying to full team try and bulldoze a turret? That's why the game was long. The game should have been incredibly quick, but they decided that they were just going to stay together.
Yeah. They consciously chose to group up as 5, as if they were almost afraid of RNG's team fighting when RNG were 10k gold behind. The teleport, like, there were so many moments where you're like, well, if they teleported here, they could actually utilize the teleport advantage, you know, bring Zatai down in the bottom lane and make the play, but they just stagnated.
Well, let's go into how WE lost control of that game later on. And first take a look at how they actually gained control to start, because it started with a 957 flank in the mid lane against Xiaohu, which actually opened up the game for Team WE to get such a massive lead.
Yeah, this was strong for WE just because Xie was playing out of his mind in the mid lane. That outplay happened, 957 set it up as well, so all of this worked out because the advantage WE had from the outright compositional victory led in towards this teamfight victory. And RNG playing a little bit greedy, trying to protect more members under their tower. There's no reason for Swain to be here, so it felt like Once WE was able to take one kill, they went for the next, and they went for the next because RNG was just straight wandering.
And you may be looking at perhaps getting caught out of position in the mid lane there, Xiaohu, to kick that fight off. It's like, why was he there in the first place? And from what you could see, it was almost like he was trying to route Xie towards his team and to threaten the Shockwave and maybe force him towards the Gragas, who was trying to come in. But they all end up losing in that fight as a result. And the thing that you have to take a step further back as well. Why were WE able to get these leads in the first place? And the draft was actually a bigger deal. You know, we looked past the draft. WE, they lost the game in the end, but they picked Rakan first. They actually picked the Rakan in the Xayah Rakan duo as a priority. And I think that was actually taunting Uzi in a way. I actually feel like it's saying, you know what, Uzi? Play the Xayah. I dare you. This is my best champion as Mystic right now, and I have the Varus anyway.
So what did you think of Uzi's performance on Xayah? Because we said it before, you know, it's a champion he looks very comfortable, and it's not a champion he's picked many times. And if this was a strategy from Team W to force him on Xayah, what did you think of his play on the champion?
I think mechanically within the lane, it wasn't very hot. There were a lot of points where they missed out in kills because he hadn't set up the feathers for the setup in ganks that they had played for him. But it was a difficult task because RNG's composition as a whole was pretty poor. They had double-tier solo laners, so there was not going to be pressure from there. We had a Gragas in the jungle that was not going to have pressure. In fact, ever since in the 5-minute mark when he found himself taking a really poor trade in the Raptors area, Magic just had full rough shot of his own jungle. So they were in a moment where RNG was full scaling, and they had no way to stop the pressure from Magic. So that's why WE, from the level 1, just from the composition standpoint, were far ahead.
They hovered, they protected, they tried to keep Uzi at least equal as well, and all of this resources towards keeping him even didn't do anything for the map control when Magic was able to run rampant. And you saw that reflected through 957's being unlocked, having CS advantages. Mid lane as well, doing quite well for himself, and RNG just fully conceded that they were going to scale. They were going to 100% go to scaling, and Uzi Xayah specifically was pretty average. He wasn't an exceptional Xayah player. He's new to the champion. I don't expect him to be good at it yet.
And we saw, like you said, that Magic as well as Celestial were unlocked in that match, playing similar to what we previously saw from Ben as well as Conley when they played for Team WE. It started to look good for them to find that form moving into playoffs. But they also made the crucial mistake for Team WE. They got caught out about 45 minutes into the match, and this allowed RNG to start their comeback.
Yep, so this is the problem when you get to the 40 to 50 minute mark, and sure, you have an 11K gold lead, but it just, that one misstep and you sacrifice yourself. Why is two of them there? That's my major question. And if you look at the minimap, the wave is so far down that they're not looking towards the bottom lane at all. So they're essentially back at it in the top side of the map, hoping to just group up. And that's why the game was stalling out so much, to the point where Orianna had Rabadon's death cap. She had 4 to 5 items for herself. She was full build later on. It was just so easy for RNG, once their composition went online, to just wait for that ulti from Ori.
And I know during the game, Rusty, you were saying that it was RNG that were making the smart decisions. Baron and Elder Dragon were available. WE tried to go towards Baron, and RNG decided to deny them that second Elder. Why was this such a big play for them?
I mean, it's just because they want to keep the game going for as long as they can. I don't think they're afraid of giving a Baron buff to Team WE, who seem to be super afraid of sieging in the first place. You get the Elder Dragon, firstly you deny the second Elder Dragon, and you also have team fighting prowess, which is with a scaling composition that shouldn't be getting dove regardless. It's too hard to dive, like you mentioned earlier, Raz. All of the shields that are available, how are you going to get to that backline? Xayah's got the ultimate as well. There's no real access to that backline without like a flash from a Gnar and trying to knock them all towards his team, and that ultimately is never going to be able to happen. And that's where you have to come back to the why didn't WE put someone in a side lane? Why'd they not actually avoid the 5v5 and let Swain be there? Make it 4v4.
Yeah, and on top of that point, just the fact that I want to give praise to MLXG just a little bit, because even though he hit his level, or at least his minute 5 mistakes, on the Gragas, you're not going to be able to dive a Gragas with the ulti, and every single time Gnar did find himself engaging, of course, immediately uses his cast to get the disengage off. So it was very difficult for WE to find those fights.
And it got to the point where Gathering Storms were starting to take effect for the two teams. We know that Mystic was running Gathering Storm as one of his runes. Uzi was not. And it was RNG in the final team fight at a deficit in terms of numbers. You got a crucial pick onto 957 and capitalized into a late game team fight that won them the match.
And the thing with WE here is that 957 starts out of position. They could choose to keep pushing top lane. They could choose to try and threaten the Nexus and perhaps reroute RNG to coming and preventing that and defending. They choose to team fight, and they actually choose to bottleneck themselves into a choke point against an Orianna who's got high burst, and Uzi who had the feathers stocked up from hitting 957 for a long time.
Yep, look at Orianna's positioning, look at Uzi's positioning. At the very least, even though he wasn't able to survive himself, he was able to get the crucial kill on the AD carry and survive or at least protect Xiaohu for the later fight here.
And they continue chasing down Seer, and Malik was able to revive, had his Guardian Angel available this entire time. Zatai knows that his job is to start pushing mid and get ready for a game-winning victory. If they can secure this kill, which they do, and RNG say, you know what, we don't need Elder, we don't need Baron, we're just going to run 3 members down mid lane and win this game.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen some really good plays out of Xie the entire game. He really had to put out 5 outplays to get out of that 2v1. It wasn't going to happen, so RNG was already planning for the finish.
But looking across from him in the mid lane, it was Xiaohu that picked up MVP for game number 1. Had a couple of misplays on his Orianna, but during the late game team fights, he came out clutch.
And the only reason that he was misplaying is because he was constantly pressured. There was no world where Xiaohu had an easy game. People were running at him, jumping at him, constantly Rakan engages, Nah zoning, and he still manages to get the shockwave off when it matters most. I think Xiaohu, in such a tough spot, still had a strong game.
Yep. Constantly under pressure, as you said. So the fact that he was able to find that form, I would say the most valuable fact for him was the fact that he was able to get the wave clear time and time again and play defensively. And when they were having that team fight on the bottom lane, sure, he got iced out by Sejuani, but he was able to flash to protection, so I thought he was on game defensively.
Yeah. So gentlemen, now it's at match point. RNG at 2-0. Final thoughts before we go into the third match.
Oh, it's going to be rough.
Sorry.
It's going to be rough.
Yep, I think WE are tilted.
Definitely.
Well, hopefully WE aren't too tilted because they still have a reverse sweep to try and run here to make themselves into the next stage of playoffs. We're going to go to a very quick break, back with game number 2 in just a bit.